Okay, so we're working on this 2007 Dodge Ram 1500 four-wheel drive. It's got a problem with the transfer case again. It's on its third transfer case motor. The last one failed by the electric motor failing. This one I installed it. I shifted to 4 high, 4 lock, back to 2 high, back to 4 high, back to 4 lock. But as soon as I put it into 4 low, I get the service four-wheel drive message. And I can almost guarantee you that there's a code 1404 transfer case range position sensor circuit low stored. Now that code is supposed to store if it goes below 0.25 volts. Yet if I look in the data right now, it's in 4 low right now. And one of these data parameters, this is all in the TIPM of course. One of these data parameters is transfer case motor feedback. It's got like a position sensor in it. There's transfer case position sensor voltage right now is at 1.12 volts. So I'm going to set up to record the voltage while I go through the ranges to see if there's a dropout in either the supply voltage to the sensor in the transfer case motor, or if there's a dropout from the transfer case, because it shouldn't have set that code. It never dropped below 0.47. So I'll set up the lab scope to do this. So here's the electrical circuit for this transfer case. The 5 volts reference comes from the TIPM. I've already confirmed the wire has good continuity, is not shorted to power or ground. And then mode sensor A is the return signal. That's the white dark green wire and the yellow orange wire. So theoretically that code 1404 sets if the voltage on this mode sensor A circuit drops below 0.25, if I remember correctly. So I've got the lab scope set up, or the graphing multimeter set up, so that I can go in the vehicle and operate the switches on the switch on the dash, and we're going to watch and graph the voltage on both the 5 volt reference. I'm measuring it right at the transfer case, and the mode sensor A right at the transfer case motor. Go underneath here and have a look. So channel 1, the yellow circuit, is connected to the 5 volt reference to the mode sensor in the transfer case motor. And channel 2 is connected to the signal return coming back, not the ground, the signal. So we're going to graph these while I shift the gears inside the vehicle. Okay, so I'm going to try and do this. I had to put a battery charger on it because the battery was getting a little weak. It's in 2-wheel drive right now, and I'm going to switch it to auto 4-wheel drive. And the return voltage in green goes up to 3.3, and I'm going to switch it to 4-wheel drive lock, and it goes up to 4.32. We go back, and back to 2-wheel drive. Now the problem occurs when I switch it to 4 low. But before I do that, I'm going to confirm that this 2.93 volts shows up on scan data as well. That I've got the scan data running in the background here. 2.93 volts, 2.94. So let's go back to the lab scope or the graphing meter. There we are. So now to switch it into 4 low, we have to have it in neutral, foot on the brake, and I'm going to switch it to 4 low. There's 4-wheel drive high, there's 4 lock, and here goes 4 low. Now that ding was the service 4-wheel drive message coming up. Let's just pause this and replay it. So here's where the voltage dropped, but it's down to 0.5 volts right now. Let's put some cursors on here. So where cursor number 2 is, it's at 0.49, which I believe is what it shows on the scan data. .47. So why is it setting that code? Let's go back and see if it actually did reset the code. I had cleared the code. Codes only. C1404 transfer case range position sensor circuit low. So I saw no reason for it to have set that code. I'm going to find the exact criteria for setting the code. Well, here is the set conditions. It says the total integrated power module detects a short to ground on the transfer case position sensor signal circuit for 2 seconds. And the possible causes are the 5-volt supply circuit is open, the 5-volt supply circuit is shorted to ground, the mode sensor A circuit is shorted to ground, and the mode sensor A circuit shorted to a sensor return signal. So I'm actually backpinning it at the transfer case motor on the 5-volt reference to make sure I'm not losing that, and the sensor A signal leaving the transfer case motor. I'm starting to think maybe I better backpin it at the back of the TIPM to see if there's a loss on the way up there. Otherwise, I'm starting to lean towards a TIPM. It says in this troubleshooting chart here that in order for the code to set, it has to be below 0.2 volts. And currently, right now, it's at 0.47 or 0.49. And when I graphed it, it never dropped below 0.2 volts. So I don't know why it's setting that code. It doesn't make sense. Okay, so now I'm going to backpin it at the connector 4 of the TIPM. The yellow trace is going into the 5-volt reference, which is the yellow and orange. And the green trace, channel 2, is the signal, mode A I guess they call it, which is the return signal from the position sensor in the transfer case. Right now it is showing 2.92 volts on the return and 4.98 volts. So I'm going to go inside the cab and try shifting this thing again while I graph it here. Okay, so it's in 2-wheel drive now. I'm going to switch it to 4 high. Went to 3.34 volts, 4 lock, 4.41, and now we'll go into 4 low. Get my foot on the brake. So there's my service 4-wheel drive message again, and at no time did it actually drop below 0.5. So it's got to be a TIPM problem that's setting that code. There's no explanation for it. Well, I guess I get to put this back together again.